The banquet of blood. The twin moons hung above the black sky like cold silver eyes. Drums echoed through the stone city of Zelthar as firelight danced on high walls. The feast had begun. Kayla walked barefoot through the courtyard, her wrists bound by glowing chains. Her eyes were wide with fear, her steps slow and quiet. The crowd of aliens, tall, gray-skinned, with bone masks and sharp claws, watched her with hunger in their eyes. They called her the meal, not by name. To them, she was just a dish for the banquet. Above the pit, a massive stone platform waited. Flames rose below it, licking the air. The smell of smoke and roasted flesh filled the square. Horns sounded. The high priest of the Draenor stepped forward. "Tonight," he roared, "we honor the ancient hunger. Tonight we feed the gods." The crowd cheered wildly. Teeth flashed. Claws scraped metal, and Kayla stood there shaking as the heat touched her skin. Deep in the shadows of a nearby building, a man watched everything. He wore worn leather armor, a hood pulled low. His face was half lit by the fire. His name was Jace Morin, a human, a fighter, and the last thing Kayla expected to see in this hell. He had come to Zelthar by accident, chasing a lead on lost tech, hoping to make a few credits. He never planned to stay, but when he saw the girl in chains, something inside him twisted. Something old, something painful. He remembered another fire, another girl. Her screams. Not again. He pulled his cloak tighter and moved closer. 2 guards stood by the platform, big ones, heavily armed but careless, drunk on blood and smoke. Kayla looked up, her lips trembling. "Please," she whispered, "I don't want to die." No one heard her. Jace did. He checked the knife at his belt. His plasma pistol was gone, confiscated when he arrived. All he had was the blade. And a choice. The drums got louder. The priest raised his hand. "Light the pit!" The crowd roared as fire exploded beneath the stone platform. Kayla stumbled back, her chains pulling tight. Jace moved. He darted from the shadows like a ghost, silent and fast. Before the guards could react, his knife slashed through the first one's neck. Hot black blood sprayed the stones. The second guard turned, too slow. A punch to the jaw. A knee to the chest. Jace caught the chain and pulled. Kayla gasped. "Who?" "Stay. Behind me," he said. Screams broke out as the crowd realized what was happening. "A human. It's a human." The priest's eyes went wide. "Stop him." Jace pulled Kayla toward the edge of the courtyard, fighting every step. More guards rushed in, shouting in their alien tongue. Jace spun, blocked, kicked. His blade flashed. Another fell. "Why are you doing this?" Kayla cried. "Because no one did it for her," he said. The words made no sense to her. But his eyes did. A memory lived there, one full of fire and sorrow. They ducked into a narrow alley, barely escaping a spear thrown by a Draenor warrior. Jace breathed hard, his back to the wall. Blade ready. Kayla clung to the shadows. "They'll find us," she whispered. "Let them try." His voice was calm, deadly, like he wasn't afraid to die. Kayla looked at him. "You're not one of us. Why risk your life?" Jace wiped sweat from his brow. "Because you shouldn't be food." She stared at him, speechless. For the first time in her life, someone had said those words. He didn't see her as weak. He didn't look away. Sirens howled in the distance, more lights, more guards. "We can't stay here," Jace said. "Do you know a way out?" Kayla nodded slowly. "Underground tunnels. They're old, but they might be open. Then lead the way." She moved quickly, guiding him through broken alleys and into the ruins of an old temple. Moss covered the walls. The air smelled of dust and old bones. She found a stone panel and pushed it aside, revealing a narrow tunnel. They climbed down into the dark. Above them, the city burned brighter. The hunt had begun. The human who didn't look away. The tunnel was dark, cold, silent. Jace held the knife in one hand and guided Kayla with the other. Every sound echoed through the narrow stone passage. Her breathing was shaky. His footsteps were firm. They didn't speak. Not yet. The weight of what just happened still hung between them. Above, the Draenor city was waking up to chaos. The sacred banquet had been ruined. Blood had been spilled. Not from the sacrifice, but from the guards. And worse, by a human. To the Draenor. That was not just a crime. It was war. Kayla glanced behind her. "Do you hear that?" Jace paused. He did. Footsteps. Metal scraping stone. Voices growling in the alien tongue. They were being followed. "Keep moving," Jace said. Kayla led him deeper. The tunnel sloped downward, twisting like the belly of a dying beast. Bones lay scattered along the floor. Old ones. Some looked human. Others didn't. "What is this place?" Jace asked. "The underpath," Kayla whispered. "They say no. One comes out alive. Let's be the first." They reached a broken gate. Jace kicked it aside and pushed her through first. Behind them, voices grew louder. The hunt was close. Suddenly, Kayla stopped. "What now?" Jace asked. She pointed. Ahead. The path had split into 3 tunnels. Each one looked the same. Dark, endless, and full of danger. "Which one?" he asked. I don't know," she said, her voice small. The footsteps behind them were getting closer. Jace closed his eyes, breathing slowly. He remembered his father's voice. "If you're lost in the dark, listen for the wind. Where it moves, life is waiting." He moved to the middle tunnel, crouched low, and felt a soft breeze. Faint. But it was there. This way. They ran. The walls were tighter now, the air colder. Jace's muscles burned, but he didn't stop. Not until they reached a wide cavern, a hollow underground room lit by glowing moss, and then a growl, deep, rumbling. Hungry. Kayla froze. "They followed us." Jace turned. "No, that's not the Draenor." From the shadows, a huge shape moved. 6 legs, glowing eyes, metal armor fused into flesh. "What is that?" Kayla whispered. "Pitstalker," Jace said. "I've seen them in old war files. They were left here during the human Draenor War. I thought they were all dead." Clearly not. The beast roared and charged. Jace grabbed Kayla and shoved her behind a pillar. The stalker slammed into it, shaking the ground. Jace rolled, slashing at its leg. Sparks flew, but it barely flinched. Kayla looked around, panicking. There was no way out. No doors. No light. Only the stalker. Jace dodged another strike, his knife now slick with slime. "I can't kill it with this," he shouted. Kayla's hands touched a broken panel in the wall. Strange symbols glowed beneath the dust. "There's something here." "What? Is it?" "I think it's old tech." The beast lunged. Jace jumped back just in time. Kayla pressed the panel. A shockwave pulsed through the room. Lights blinked. Then something rose from the center of the cavern, a platform with a crystal blade floating above it. The stalker stopped. Its eyes fixed on the blade. So did Jace's. "Is that for me?" he muttered. "It came from the ground," Kayla said. "Maybe it's a weapon." Jace dove for it. The moment his fingers touched the blade, it hummed. Alive. Pulsing with energy. The edge glowed blue, and strange writing ran across the handle, forged for the last defender. The stalker roared. Jace turned, raised the blade, and ran straight at it. This time, when he struck, the creature screamed. A clean slice. Armor broke, blood sprayed. The beast staggered back, legs shaking. Kayla watched in awe as Jace moved like lightning. Each swing of the blade lit the cavern. Each strike brought the monster closer to death. Finally, with one last leap, Jace drove the blade deep into its chest. The pit stalker collapsed. Silent, Kayla ran to Jace. "Are you hurt?" "Just tired," he said, breathing hard. "But we're alive." The blade dimmed and shrank, fitting itself into a handle on Jace's belt. Kayla looked at him differently now. Who are you? Jace sat down against the wall. Just someone who's tired of looking away. She sat beside him close. For the first time, she didn't feel like prey. She felt protected. Above them, horns sounded again. They're still coming, Kayla whispered. Let them, Jace said, holding the blade. Next time I'll be ready. The escape into the dark. The pit stalker's body was still warm. Jace wiped black blood from his face and stared into the dark. Kayla stood beside him, clutching the blade's handle on his belt. Even in silence, her eyes said everything. Fear, awe, and something else. Something beginning to grow. That thing was bred to kill armies, she whispered. And it almost did, Jace said. But now it's dead, and we need to move. Above, faint echoes of the drainer horns thundered. Again. They were searching. And they would not stop until they found him. Until they found her. Kayla looked at the narrow exit behind the beast's body. I've never been past that path. No one ever returned. Jace stood. Then let's be the first. They entered the broken tunnel beyond the cavern, their footsteps soft on old stone. The walls were cracked. The air felt thicker now, colder. It smelled like rust, dirt, and secrets. They walked for minutes in silence. Then Jace stopped. What's wrong? Kayla asked. He knelt. Look. He pointed at strange marks carved into the wall, symbols that pulsed with faint blue light. Kayla blinked. Those are human. Yeah, Jace muttered. But old, from the first war. Humans were here long before this city was built. Kayla touched one symbol. Why did they leave? They didn't, Jace said softly. They died. She turned to him slowly. You speak like you've seen it. He nodded. I was born on a ruined world, burned by the Drainar. My sister was taken when I was 12. She was never found. I've been chasing monsters ever since. The silence between them deepened. That's why you saved me, Kayla whispered. No, Jace said. I saved you because you didn't deserve to burn. Suddenly, the ground shook. Kayla fell to her knees. Jace caught her, blade drawn. Something massive was moving above them. Cracks split the ceiling, dust fell like snow. Then, a deafening roar. Kayla's heart raced. What was that? Not sure, Jace said, but we're not alone. They ran, the tunnel twisted like a snake, taking them deeper. Suddenly, they reached a vast underground chamber. A lake of black water stretched in front of them, glowing softly. Across it, an ancient gate stood. Huge, rusted, half buried in stone. Kayla gasped. The forgotten door. What? It leads out, she said. Into the lowlands. But no one's used it in 100 years. Why not? Because of what guards it. As if summoned by her voice, the water rippled. Jace raised his blade. From beneath the surface, a shape rose. Long and wide. Smooth skin. Glowing eyes. Tentacles spread out like blades. It moved silently, except for the water dripping from its massive body. Kayla's breath caught in her throat. A deep watcher. How do we get past it? Jace asked. We don't, she said. It kills anything that enters the water. Jace scanned the walls. No other paths, no bridges, only water and the beast. He narrowed his eyes. Then we distract it. Kayla looked at him like he was mad. You'll die. Not if you swim fast. I'm not leaving you. I'm not giving you a choice. Before she could argue, Jace picked up a broken metal rod and tossed it across the water. It splashed far to the left. The watcher turned. Now, Jace shouted. They dove into the water. Cold gripped their bodies. Jace swam ahead, blade in one hand. Kayla followed, kicking hard. The gate grew closer. 10 meters. 7. 5. Then the water exploded behind them. The watcher had turned. Tentacles shot toward Jace. He twisted under the water, slicing one clean, off. The beast shrieked. The lake boiled with rage. "Go, Kayla!" he shouted. She reached the gate and pulled the release lever. It jammed. She screamed and yanked again. The gate hissed and opened. Jace swam hard. The beast was right behind him now. Too close. He turned mid-swim, blade raised. One chance. The watcher lunged. Jace struck right between its eyes. A blinding flash. The beast collapsed, crashing into the water like a broken mountain. Jace surfaced, gasping. Kayla reached out, grabbed his arm, and pulled him through the gate. They rolled into a muddy cave, panting, soaked, and shaking. For a long time, neither spoke. Then Kayla looked at him, her voice small. "You shouldn't be alive. Story of my life," Jace said, coughing. Outside the gate, sunlight peeked through cracks. They were far from the city now. But they weren't safe. Not yet. Kayla sat beside him. "You're not just a warrior." "What am I?" "A storm," she whispered. "You changed everything." Jace didn't answer. He stared at the glowing blade in his hand. What am I becoming? He wondered. He had come to Xelthar for trade. Now, he was at war, hunted by the lords of the pit. The sunlight was pale, not warm, not soft, just pale, like a dying flame above a cold world. Jace and Kayla stood just outside the rusted gate, their clothes wet, their bodies bruised, and their minds still spinning from the narrow escape. Behind them, the water beast was gone, sinking into the black lake. Ahead of them stretched the lowlands, wild fields, broken roads, and thick alien fog. But silence didn't last. A horn echoed in the distance. Not the high-pitched signal of Draenor guards. This one was deeper, ancient, like it had not been heard for centuries. Kayla froze. Her face went pale. "No," she whispered. "They called them." "Called who?" Jace asked, gripping the glowing blade on his hip. "The lords of the pit." Jace narrowed his eyes. "Sounds friendly." "They're not," Kayla said, voice shaking. "They don't speak, they don't eat, they just hunt. They're not alive like us, they're something else." "Machines? More than that. Half-living. Created by the first Draenor kings to hunt traitors. They were locked away generations ago. So why are they awake now? Because you killed their priests." Jace stood silent for a moment. "Good," he said. "Let them come." Kayla stared at him. "You're not afraid?" He looked at the broken lands ahead. "I'm tired of running." A heavy wind swept over the field, carrying dust and whispers. They started walking, each step away from. The gate felt heavier. The air buzzed with strange energy. Kayla led the way now, showing him forgotten paths between the hills, but she kept looking back, as if something was watching. By nightfall, they reached an old watchtower, long abandoned. Vines covered the stones and the top had fallen in. Still, it gave them shelter. Inside, Jace made a small fire. He placed the blade beside him, letting it glow faintly in the dark. Kayla sat across from him, knees pulled to her chest. "You don't sleep much, do you?" "Not when I'm hunted." She nodded. "My people used to believe in heroes. Then the Draenor broke us. They made us believe we were weak, made us think no one would ever save us." "That's what monsters do," Jace said. "Make you forget you're worth saving." She looked at him. "You remembered." He didn't reply. He just stared at the fire. Then, the wind died. No sound, no birds, no night creatures, only silence. Kayla stood slowly. "They're here." Jace grabbed the blade. Outside, the mist began to glow. Shadows moved, tall, thin, with long arms and burning eyes. The lords of the pit. There were 3 of them, cloaked in armor made from bones and black stone. Their steps made no sound. Their faces were metal masks carved with symbols of the old gods. Kayla's voice trembled. "They can smell your defiance." "Good," Jace said. I hope they choke on it. The First Lord stepped forward, his fingers became blades. His back opened, releasing drones that hovered and circled like vultures. Jace charged. The clash was instant. Metal against energy, silence against fire. Kayla ducked behind the tower wall, watching in terror as Jace fought like lightning. His blade sang through the air, striking the First Lord's side. Sparks flew, but the creature didn't fall. Instead, it grabbed Jace and threw him into the wall. Dust exploded. Jace coughed, blood on his lips. Kayla screamed, grabbing a shard of broken metal and rushing forward. "Kayla, no!" Jace yelled, but it was too late. One of the lords turned toward her. She slashed blindly. It blocked her strike easily, but paused. Its eyes scanned her face. Then, it tilted its head. Kayla's body glowed faintly, just like the symbols in the underpath. The lord stepped back, confused. "What's happening?" she cried. Jace struggled to his feet. "You're not just a sacrifice, you're marked." Marked for what? The answer came from the blade. It glowed brighter than ever, then flew from Jace's hand and hovered in the air between them. Kayla reached for it. The moment her fingers touched the handle, a wave of energy exploded outward. The ground shook. The lords stepped back, shielding themselves. Jace stared in shock. "It was never meant just for me." Kayla's voice changed, deeper, stronger. "It was meant for us." Together they stood, Kayla holding the blade, Jace at her side. The lords charged again. This time they were ready. Kayla moved faster than she thought possible, slicing through one lord's arm. Jace struck the second in the leg, knocking it down. The final one raised its claws, only to be blasted by a shockwave from Kayla's blade. In minutes, it was over. The lords of the pit fell. Silent once more, Kayla dropped to her knees, the blade fading. Jace knelt beside her. "You okay?" "I think I unlocked something," she whispered. "Something old. Something powerful. And dangerous? Maybe. But if it means they stop hunting us." He nodded. The wind returned. The stars blinked through the clouds. They were still hunted. But for the first time, they were no longer prey. The weapon that should not exist, they left the ruins before sunrise. Kayla held the blade in her hand, still glowing softly. Its light pulsed like a heartbeat. Slow, steady, and alive. Jace walked beside her in silence. The air felt different, now. Heavy. Not with fear, but with questions. They had just killed the lords of the pit. Creatures from the old world, monsters no one dared speak of for generations. And yet Kayla, once a sacrifice, now carried a blade that burned them to ash. "I don't understand," she said quietly. "Why did the weapon choose me?" "Because it recognized something in you," Jace answered. "Something ancient." "I'm not ancient, I'm just no one." "Maybe once," Jace said, "but not anymore." They reached a rocky ridge overlooking a dead forest. The trees were black and cracked, their branches like claws. Beneath them was a forgotten valley. And in the center, an old structure, half buried. In the earth, circular, massive, with broken statues leaning over it. Kayla gasped. "That's the Cradle of Iron." "What's that?" Jace asked. "A temple. Long before the Draenor ruled, this place belonged to my ancestors. It was sealed after they lost the war. No one's entered it in 100 years. Maybe it's time we did." They made their way down the cliff. As they neared the temple, Jace felt the hairs on his neck stand up. Something about the air. It buzzed with invisible energy, like the place was waiting for someone. The entrance was sealed with a round stone door covered in dust and vines. Kayla placed her hand on it, and it responded. The blade she carried lit up and the symbols on the door began to glow. The stone slid open with a deep groan. Inside, the air was cold. Ancient metal walls curved around them. Lights blinked to life as they walked, revealing murals, stories carved in silver and gold. Kayla stared in awe. This is history they never told us. The images showed her people standing beside humans, warriors side by side, not slaves, not enemies, friends, and then fire, war, betrayal. Jace pointed to one carving. That looks like the blade. It was the same weapon, but this time it was held by two figures, one human, one alien. Together. This weapon wasn't meant for one person, Kayla said. It was meant to be shared. A bond weapon, Jace whispered. They stopped making these after the Great Betrayal. Kayla touched the wall gently. So this blade was made to protect both species. Jace nodded. And maybe to save them. Deeper inside the temple, they found a circular room. In the center, a glowing core hovered, humming quietly. Around it, machines were frozen mid-motion, like they'd stopped working 1,000 years ago. Kayla stepped toward the core. The blade in her hand pulsed brighter. Then a voice echoed through the chamber. Identity confirmed. Bond accepted. Unlocking archive. A beam of light shot from the core, revealing floating images, memories, battles, alliances, and a message. This weapon was forged in the final hour, when both species stood on the edge of extinction. Only those with a true bond, sacrifice, and courage can awaken its power again. Jace stepped beside her. Final mode unlocked. The twin heartblade has chosen its bearers. Kayla turned. Twin heartblade? Jace smirked. Sounds dramatic. But neither of them laughed, because the light suddenly dimmed. The air shifted. Then, screams. Not, near not far, echoing from the valley above. They found us, Jace said, pulling his blade free. Kayla held hers tighter. Not just Draenor. Shadows moved outside the temple. Hundreds of them. Flying beasts, armored soldiers, and something bigger, lumbering, tall with fire in its mouth. Jace peeked outside. They brought a dread titan, he muttered. What's that? Kayla asked. Something they use when they expect to lose. Outside, the sky darkened. The titan roared, a sound that made the earth shake. Kayla's knees weakened. We can't fight that. Not alone, Jace said. But we're not alone anymore. He touched the wall, and the symbols lit up again. Across the valley, old machines in the ground began to wake. Buried weapons, defense turrets, drones, with faded human flags. The cradle of iron was rising. Kayla looked at him. You did this? We did, Jace replied. As the enemy advanced, the ground shook with new energy. Glowing lights blinked across the hilltops. Weapons powered up, and at the center of it all stood two figures, one human, one alien, holding the blade that should not exist. The battle was coming. But this time, the galaxy wouldn't watch in silence. It would gasp. One human, one heir, one last fight. The sky turned red. Not from sunset, but from fire. Not from beauty, but from war. Kayla stood beside Jace at the edge of the ancient cradle. Her blade pulsed with golden light. His hummed with blue fire. Together they stood like statues, weathered but unshaken, as the enemy poured across the valley. Above them, the dread titan marched forward, 50 feet tall, covered in armor forged from planets torn apart. Its head was a skull of steel, its mouth burned with molten energy. Behind it, Draenor war beasts howled. Soldiers in bone armor moved in rows. Flying machines hovered overhead, weapons locked. Kayla gripped her blade tighter. They brought everything. Jace nodded. Good, now we don't have to chase them later. The defenses around the cradle of iron buzzed to life. Old human war tech, long buried, had awoken. Turrets popped from the ground. Walls rose. Drones formed shield walls. A voice echoed from the core behind them. Battle mode initiated. Defending last command. Protect the bonded. Kayla looked at Jace. We're the bonded. And this is our last stand. As the army approached, the ground trembled. Jace and Kayla ran to the command platform where old weapon panels blinked. Kayla placed her hand on the glowing control orb. A massive shield dome shimmered over the temple. "We can hold them off," she said. "For a while," Jace replied, "but not forever." The drainer forces stopped just beyond the reach of the dome. Then a voice thundered from the Titan. Deep, guttural, cruel. "You are trespassers, traitors. Surrender the blade and the girl, and the human may die quickly." Kayla stepped forward, raising her sword. "Tell your masters I was never theirs." The Titan roared. The assault began. The ground erupted as cannons fired. The shield held for the first wave, but drones shattered, and walls cracked. Jace leapt into the open with his blade, slicing through 2 soldiers before they could fire. Kayla followed, her steps like lightning, her blade dancing in the air. They fought as one. Every time Jace blocked, Kayla struck. Every time Kayla staggered, Jace shielded her. The battlefield glowed with their rhythm, blue and gold moving through smoke and death. But the enemy was endless. Kayla fell to one knee, her arm bleeding. Jace spun to cover her. "Get up. We're not done yet." Her eyes flared. She stood again, screaming as she struck 3 Draenor down with a single slash. "I'm not a sacrifice anymore," she cried. Behind them, the Titan took a step forward. It fired. A beam of fire crashed into the shield. It shattered. Kayla and Jace were thrown back. Rubble buried them. For a moment, silence. Then, Kayla's hand broke free from the stones. "Jace," she cried, coughing. He pulled himself out beside her, face bloody. The Titan was coming straight at them now. "If we don't stop it now," Jace said, "this place falls." "How do we kill it?" Kayla asked. "We don't kill it alone." He turned back to the cradle's core. "Can the cradle send power to the blade?" he shouted. The voice responded, "Yes, but it will drain all remaining energy." "Do it," Kayla said. Light burst from the temple core. It hit the twin blades, merging them. One weapon, one fire, forged from their bond. Kayla and Jace stood, together now holding a single blade, glowing like a star. The Titan roared and swung its molten fist. They ran straight at it. Everything slowed. Dust in the air, fire behind them, death ahead. But they didn't stop. Jace jumped high, pushing Kayla upward. She climbed the Titan's shoulder. The beast swung to shake her off, but Jace stabbed deep into its leg, slowing it. Kayla reached the top. She drove, the blade into its head, deep, screaming with all her strength. The light exploded. The Titan stopped. A heartbeat passed. Then it fell. The valley shook. Draenor soldiers screamed and ran. The war machines fell silent. Jace stood beneath the giant, blade still glowing. Kayla slid down the side, falling into his arms. They looked around. The enemy was gone. The cradle of iron was broken, but they were still standing. Kayla leaned her head on his shoulder. "We did it." Jace held her close. "We made the galaxy gasp." The galaxy gasped. Ashes floated through the air like snow. The dread Titan lay broken, its heart dim, its body cracking into pieces. The field was silent. No screams, no footsteps, no engines, only wind. Kayla stood with her blade planted in the dirt, her body shaking but unbroken. Jace knelt beside her, blood dripping down his side, holding pressure to the wound. The battle was over. But the war was watching. From the edge of the hills, the people came. First a few, then hundreds. Villagers, miners, alien workers who had once hidden from the Draenor. Children who were taught to bow, old warriors who had lost hope. They came in silence, looking down at the fallen Titan. They had seen it all. Some through binoculars, some through drones, some with their own eyes. One human, one heir in the galaxy gasped, not from fear, but from something else. From the return of something they thought was gone. Courage. Kayla helped Jace to his feet. "They're watching," she whispered. "Let them," Jace said, coughing through a tired smile. A young alien girl stepped forward from the crowd. Dirty face, thin arms. She walked slowly, holding a broken doll. She looked at Kayla, then knelt. Then her mother did, then dozens more. Soon the whole crowd dropped to their knees. Not in fear, but in honor. Kayla looked down, overwhelmed. I don't want to be worshipped. They're not worshiping you, Jace said softly. They're thanking you. A voice echoed from the sky. A transmission. This is the free network broadcasting, across sectors, rebels, survivors, and outer colony citizens. If you can hear this, listen well. The cradle of iron has awakened, the dread titan is dead, and a human and an alien girl have done the impossible. The Draenor Empire is not invincible. The message spread like fire, to stations, ships, cities, prisons. People heard, and hope cracked through the silence like thunder. Back on the battlefield, Kayla looked at Jace. You don't have to stay, she said. You could walk away, live, free now. He looked at her hand, at the scars, at the blade they shared. I could, he said. But he didn't move. Kayla stepped closer. You're not like the others. Neither are you. She touched his hand. For a long moment they didn't speak. No battle, no shouting, just the hum of the wind and the soft warmth between them. What now? She asked. Jace turned to the high, broken sky. Now, we give them something to follow. The two of them walked to the edge of the hill. The crowd stood again. They watched as Jace raised the blade. Kayla raised hers too. Together, they crossed the blades in the air, and the people cheered not as slaves, not as prey, but as a rising force. Weeks later, the cradle of iron had become a fortress again, a place of training, of healing, of strategy. Kayla wore armor now, not ceremonial, but real, battle-worn and proud. She trained recruits, she led councils, she stood before tribes and families, not as a sacrifice, but as a leader. Jace worked beside her, building defenses, shaping a new army of the bonded, humans and aliens fighting side by side. Some called it madness, most called it the spark of revolution. Galactic systems that had gone silent for years suddenly whispered again. Whispers of resistance, whispers of the twin heartblade. And deep in, the darkest part of space, Draenor warlords held secret meetings. They played the battle footage on repeat. The moment when their titan fell. The moment when a girl they once caged stood over their greatest weapon. And the room was always silent. When the clip ended, because they all felt it, the galaxy was changing.